The following is a special presentation of Tony Kurre Radio. From hot dogs to cool kitties, this is Darkside of the Pooch.
Welcome to another thrilling edition of Dark Side of the Pooch. Dr. Rab Stewart from the Rossbridge Animal Hospital came up with the name of that. And the minute he told me, I was like, that is a perfect name for Tony Kurre Radio, the Dark Side of the Pooch. We do it every Monday night. Dark Side of the Pooch, Mondays. You can hear the show at noon on Monday and again at 8 o'clock. Brand new episodes right here on Tony Kurre Radio. Dr. Rab, how you doing, brother? Everything good?
It's great. I mean, the week flew by. Here we are again.
I hear you. Listen, the holidays are just right around the corner now. And I know that, dogs in boxes, kitty cats in boxes with holes, that seems to be a nice gift that a lot of people like to give. I don't know if that will be as relevant as it normally is because I think a lot of people got pets during the pandemic just to keep company with. But what's the first thing you do when you're given a puppy dog or a kitty cat for the holidays? You bring them to the Rossbridge Animal Hospital?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely get it seen. I think anytime people talk about, a pet in a box, I think about Christmas Vacation. She wrapped her damn cat.
Yeah. So
I mean,
go ahead.
When you get a pet, whether you get it from the Humane Society or whether you get it from a breeder, they're probably going to have already had some type of medical workup, especially from the Humane Society. The Greater Birmingham Humane Society does a great job. So no matter where you get your pet from, just be sure you get the paperwork either from the Humane Society or the breeder. And whether or not the pet needs something, it's best to go ahead and just find your veterinarian. Hopefully it will be us, and send them the paperwork, make a phone call, and let them look at everything, see if the pet's up to date, or see if it maybe needs some type of ancillary care, because the Humane Society and breeders, they don't do everything. They do the most important things, and they'll probably do a round or two of injections if it's a puppy for vaccines. But they're not going to do the whole series, So get the paperwork to your veterinarian and let them have a look, and then the pros will tell you what needs to come next and when.
All right, we get tons of emails. We call it Mutt Mail, and we get it every single week. And we're going to check in with Tommy in Orange Beach, Tracy in Harrisburg, Virginia, and also John in Tallahassee. They all have questions. If you have questions for Dr. Rab, we love them, and no question is too stupid because they're all questions that I think we all want to see answered. Go to TonyKurreRadio.net, TonyKurreRadio.net, become a bonehead, and email us, and we'll read the questions here every Monday night and every Monday at noon right here on Dark Side of the Pooch on Mondays. I want to read this interesting story to help increase and improve cat-owner relationships. A test has been introduced by psychologists called the Cat-Try Plus test. Psychologists have studied the relationships between thousands of cats and their owners to develop a detailed questionnaire you can use to analyze your pet. It comes from a form of 46 different statements, with owners rating how well each statement describes their pets. Some of those examples include: my cat torments their prey rather than killing it straight away. My cat vocalizes loudly and yowls for no apparent reason. And my cat is very excitable, e.g. goes into overdrive, becomes uncoordinated. The results will help measure the cat's levels of meanness, traits such as a lack of empathy and callous aggression, disinhibition, which problems behavioral restraint, and boldness, which is a measure of social dominance, and low levels of fear. It's called the Cat-Try Plus, the first ever tool available to measure psychopathy in cats, said the researchers from Liverpool. We believe that, like any other personality trait, psychopathy is on a continuum where some cats will score more highly than others. Have you seen that? You obviously see a ton of cats at your area. You probably know them by name, and you're like, okay, we have Frisky Feline coming in today. It's going to be a crazy day because this cat's kind of crazy. What do you see from cat to cat?
All cats have a low level of empathy. No, I'm kidding. I mean, they're all a little bit different, but I would say that there's probably three different types of cats that we see in our office. Very placid, and will let you do whatever you want to do to it, there's a line, and then we have the kind that you've got to restrain them or if not, they're either going to run away or they're going to bite or they're going to scratch or whatever, but otherwise they're fine. And then we have the kind that if you even get close to it, it's going to turn into a rattlesnake, and there's nothing you can do unless you first sedate it. You can't even look at it, without it trying to eat you. But cats are definitely not small dogs. They have a different personality. They like different things. They like to be interacted with in a different way. And I think that's why you have, for decades, you have cat owners that say, I'm a cat person, and you have dog owners that say, I'm a dog person. And sometimes if you're a dog person, you are not a cat person, because their personalities are different. And I think that it can closely mirror the person's personality as well. So when we see cats, we know they don't like to be touched like dogs do. People will go straight to the back of a dog to pet it, and that's not what cats like. Cats either don't like to be petted at all, or they really like for the side of their mouths to be rubbed. So you just kind of have to know how to handle them. They're different.
Is this based on the training or the behavior of the owners at all, or are there some cats you can, for lack of a better term, domesticate even more so and get them to calm down? Or is it just the cat's genetics? It's going to be that way, period.
I think that you could not, I'm not going to say train a cat to have the personality of, a dog, where they're always running up to you and they're constantly looking for affection and, man's best friend.
Yeah.
I don't think that you can train a cat to get there. I think that the cat's personality either leans that way or it doesn't. But even the friendliest cat is not going to be like a dog. But of course, there's going to be if you come home from work, there are a lot of cats that will, wherever they are, they're going to jump off the counter or jump off the couch, and they're going to come up to you and they're going to rub on your leg for a few minutes, and then they're gone. But dogs, a lot of dogs want to hang around you from the moment you wake up until the moment you go to sleep. So I think it's more of a genetic thing than a training thing.
Yeah. John writes, and again, your emails at TonyCurryRadio.net here on Darkside the Pooch with Dr. Rab Stewart from the Rossbridge Animal Hospital at Rossbridge Vet on Twitter, 205-208-0301. What's the best way to discipline a cat, or do you? Do you just, if you got a cat that constantly jumping up on your kitchen table, for example, what's the best way to discipline a cat?
Yeah, cats are hard to discipline because what can happen is if you scare a cat, then that can push them into even worse behavior. So like, for example, if a cat is doing something that you don't want them to do, kind of one of the old school things was, just have a spray bottle, and if it jumps up on the counter, you can just spray it with water.
Yeah.
But what recent studies show is that will create a different type of fear and anxiety in the cat that can lead to inappropriate urination or defecation around the house. So I think the best way to discipline a cat is to just, as best you can, not let them get in a position where you need to discipline them. So, for example, I will never forget this as long as I live, but I was watching my mom's cat while she was out of town. This was, years ago, like when I just got out of vet school, and I was single, and I like to cook a little bit. And so I had spent, a while making this meal, and I sat down in my chair to eat it. And this cat was maybe 16 weeks old, and it jumped from the counter right onto my plate. Oh. And, so I was, of course, not very happy, but I learned that, okay, when I eat, I need to put the cat in a different room. I need to put the cat in my bedroom. Yep. So the best thing to do is, if you know that they're going to get in trouble, just try to keep them from getting in trouble. Yeah.
Tracy from Harrisburg, that was the question. Is it okay to spritz my animal to discipline it? How's that go for? It seems like, based on what I'm being told here, and I've learned this over the years we've done doing the show, Darkside the Pooch, when you discipline a dog, it knows it's done something wrong, and it does everything it can not to do that issue again. When you discipline a cat, it just finds something else to piss you off. Is that true?
It does.
Yeah.
They're spiteful.
Yeah.
I mean, they are. They're spiteful creatures, which, I mean, some people listening might think that I mean that in a negative way. You got to be pretty smart to be spiteful, And so, and cats are really smart. I mean, I think that's a characteristic that you don't come across in dumb animals. So it's almost like cats are too smart for their own good. But I think dogs aim to please. And so if you discipline a dog, they may not listen to you. They may not change. Like my dog's always going to jump up and grab a loaf of bread off the counter if we leave it there.
Yeah.
But if we discipline him, he's not going to do something else because we disciplined him, but dogs take discipline a little bit, a lot better. They can, they learn from it. Whereas a cat is less likely to do that.
Yeah, and I mean, dogs to me are kind of like thieves in a neighborhood. If you leave your lawnmower out in the front yard all night, it's going to probably get stolen. If you leave something on the kitchen counter, and my dogs will do it too. Now, if I catch them, I almost sometimes leave it up there on purpose just to see if they've learned enough based on their disciplinary measures to not grab the hot dog that's sitting on it. But then I feel bad because I've tempted that animal. It's like letting a guy walk into a strip joint and telling him not to look. I mean, it's almost difficult to do, right?
I wouldn't know.
Yeah, there you go. But you have eaten a hot dog off a kitchen table while no one was looking, correct?
Oh, I've eaten one off the floor.
Yeah, there you go. Any other interesting things we need to know about cats? When we're talking about Christmas gifts, I don't everyone see. I mean, I know you talked about Christmas vacation, but I don't ever see anyone giving cats as gifts for the holidays as opposed to puppy dogs. Maybe it's because you can't get the bow around the neck.
Yeah, you only give cats to your enemies.
And we have Happy Jumpy Cat. It's an outdoor cat. When it gets below freezing, I do bring it in, and it loves in the laundry room. And it's only because I have two dogs that will chase it until it runs out of breath. And I feed it every morning at 6 o'clock, and that's the most beautiful time. I will sit down and it will be all over me. But any other time when I try to get near that cat, it won't get within 10 feet of me. It's the most bizarre thing.
Yeah. I mean, it's using you. I'm sorry, yeah. Tony.
There's no doubt. Dr. Rab Stewart from the Rossbridge Animal Hospital. The number is 205-208-0301, 205-208-0301. Rossbridge Vet on Twitter. Tommy from Orange Beach writes, should I discipline my dog for licking his balls too much? Now, this is one of those things where it never fails. If you have a dog that sleeps with you in your bed or in the same room and it's 2 o'clock in the morning and all you hear is and it's like, for God's sakes already, put it away from it. I mean, wish we could all do that, but stop already. I mean, I'll let it go for about 3 or 4 minutes to the point where like, knock it off. First of all, why do they lick so long and should they be disciplined for it?
Yeah, I mean, they should be, because they can lick so much that they'll create a problem. They'll go blind.
Yes.
No, they won't. They won't go blind.
The palms of their paws get bare too. But yeah.
Yeah. No, but they will. They can give themselves dermatitis for real. They lick. Dogs have a rough tongue. If they lick a lot, it'll just take the very, very thin top layer of the skin off. It'll create dermatitis, and then because you don't have that barrier, that very top thin layer of skin, it can get infected. So a lot of bacterial infections you can get from that. It's strange too, because for intact males, a lot of times we will see that they have dermatitis on the underside of their scrotum. So for whatever reason, they just focus on that area. And, I don't know why. I've thought maybe it's out of boredom. They just don't have anything to do. It's hard to really know if they get some sort of pleasure out of it. I have no clue. But I've always thought it's out of boredom. But yeah, they should be stopped because they can create dermatitis, which can lead to infection.
By the way, if you Google cats are, do you know what the first 3 entries are?
Satan.
No, the first one are cats are spiteful. That's number 1. This is Google. You can Google it anywhere. The second one is just cats. And the third one is cats are psychopaths.
Okay. And for everyone listening, I love cats. So please don't think that I hate cats, and I don't hate them at all. I like them, but it's just kind of a fun joke that,
Yeah.
cats are spiteful. They're wonderful animals. But they are definitely spiteful, and they like to get into trouble. And actually, I kind of like it. It's pretty funny.
Yeah, the next one are cats are better than dogs. Cats are sociopaths. Cats are evil, and cats are nocturnal. So there you have it. That's funny. Dr. Rab Stewart joins us from Rossbridge Animal Hospital, 208-0301, area code 205 for all your pet care needs. He's here for you and he'll help you out. And of course, it's a 365, 24/7 thing when you have cats and dogs. So if you're getting one for the holidays or you're getting your little boy and he says, I'm ready to take care of the animal, you're going to feed it, you're going to love on it, you're going to take care of it, you're going to walk it, that's going to last for about a week. Just to let you know. And you'll eventually end up taking care of that animal yourself. John from Tallahassee writes, and again, go to TonyCurryRadio.net, TonyCurryRadio.net. Leave your email questions. We'll read them right here on Darkside the Pooch. Mondays are Darkside the Pooch days. We run the show at noon and 8 o'clock. Why do dogs eat grass before they throw up?
That is an age-old question.
Yes.
And I don't think that I don't know that anyone has a great answer, but I have always thought that they did it to try to induce vomiting, to try to make themselves throw up. And again, I don't know if that's true, but just knowing how dogs act, and a lot of times when dogs are doing that, they do need to throw up. So just for example, if we talk about dogs eating things that they shouldn't eat a lot on the show, things that are not digestible. So, socks or any type of cloth, dog toys that they've chewed up, rocks, whatever. And so a lot of times what we'll find is when we have to go in there and remove whatever the substance is surgically, because, sometimes that's the only way it'll come out. If it gets into the intestine and it's big enough, then you can't induce vomiting to throw it up, because they're not going to throw up anything that's already moved out of the stomach.
Gotcha.
And dogs have a cecum that's kind of like humans' appendix. And the opening from the small intestine to the cecum is smaller than the opening from the stomach into the intestine. So what I mean by that is things can get into the intestine, and then they're too big to get out into the colon. So anyway, that's why we have to go in and surgically remove things sometimes from the small bowel or from the stomach. But when we go in and we remove things from the small intestine, a lot of times what we'll see is like a wad of grass that is oral, which means towards the, it just means towards the mouth. Mm-hmm. So you have the foreign object that's further down the plumbing than this big wad of grass. And so to me, that just means the dog ate something, it knew it shouldn't have eaten it, and it's trying to do something to either alleviate what's going on, or it's trying to do something to throw it up. So in my mind, a dog does it because they are trying to fix a problem that they know is in their GI tract, whether they're nauseous or whether they're trying to throw up. Yeah. That's what I think.
So the idea that dogs will only eat things that are delicious is totally false, because what is the reasoning behind animals eating things that obviously aren't supposed to be edible? For example, underwear and cotton balls, and because I've seen, or poop. We always think the dogs who eat poop are senile, or they're getting too old, or they can't see what they're eating, and obviously it can't taste good, I wouldn't think. But why do? Or my dogs love goose poop. Whenever we go on the golf course, my dogs will eat goose poop. They think it's the most delicious thing in the world. The golfers appreciate the cleanup, but I don't appreciate the breath. What is it about animals that eat things they're not supposed to?
Well, again, my thought on it is that since dogs don't have a lot of they can't feel things with their hands, because basically they have 4 feet, they don't have hands. So I believe that they are putting the things in their mouth to explore them, because the dog's mouth is almost like our hands. That's how they get the texture of things, or the consistency of things, or whatever. So I think some of the time they have that in their mouth, and they don't to feel it. and they don't know to spit it out. They just swallow it down.
Yeah.
I don't think that they're trying to eat. I don't think that they're thinking, I'm going to eat this and it's going to be nourishment. I think that they're just trying to check something out. And instead of spitting it out, for whatever reason, they swallow it down because it doesn't have a taste. Like rocks don't have a taste.
Yeah, it's interesting, man.
Might, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, and I think there's a lot of reasons why I don't like things in particular, like hummus, because of the texture itself. If something is kind of soily or seedy, or tomatoes, for example, or other things that I don't like the taste of it. It just doesn't feel right in my mouth, so I don't want to eat it. 208-0301, 208-0301, Rossburg Animal Hospital's Dr. Rab Stewart, Darkside the Pooch. Every Monday is Darkside the Pooch Monday now. We've changed that up. So you can hear Darkside the Pooch at noon and 8 every Monday right here on Tony Kurre Radio. And again, TonyKurreRadio.net if you have email questions. Pam from Hartford, Connecticut, way out there, said, they're getting their first dog this holiday season. Is there a good starter breed I should start with? Should I just go with a mutt before we go up, or is there a better animal to start with, or does it matter?
I can tell you a lot of breeds for your first dog that I would probably stay away from a behavioral standpoint, or even from like a medical issue standpoint, or a maintenance issue. So like, for example, just me personally, if it were my first dog, I would not want to get a dog that was as classically big and strong and not very obedient.
Yeah.
And so for me, that's a German Shepherd. It's just a lot of dog, and they can be, they can be dangerous if they're not trained. And German Shepherds are not dangerous dogs. They're actually very fearful dogs. And so that's what makes them dangerous. Dogs that have to be groomed, like I said, like maintenance, I would not want my first dog to be a dog that had to be groomed a lot, because it's just going to be more cost and throw a wrench in your schedule. So things like poodles, things like labradoodles, things like that. Probably the best starter dog that I could imagine would be a golden retriever for me, like just personally. They're really great family dogs. You don't have to have them groomed. You can get away with not training them. They usually have a good disposition. I love those dogs. A smaller dog, if you didn't want to go with a large dog, one of the best dispositions of any dog is a Cavalier King Charles Spaniel. They do have some health problems that kind of pop up later on in life. Heart disease is one of them, but from a great family dog that doesn't have a mean bone in its body, a Cavalier are great dogs.
For the most part, do you find that smaller breeded dogs do have the bigger bark than the bite? It seems like most little dogs, they're not necessarily yappy, but they're a little bit more not docile, but they're a little bit more fearful, and they seem like they yap a little bit more. Is it because of their size? Is this part of their breed? What is that?
I don't know if it's a small dog thing or not really. But I guess probably small breed dogs. I've probably been bitten by more small breed dogs than big dogs.
Mm-hmm. Dotson dogs seem like they're always like that.
Dachshunds are pretty snappy. Yeah. And I think it might be the fact, and I'm going to make an assumption here. I think that bigger dogs, for whatever reason, I think that they probably give us more warning signs than small dogs.
Yeah.
And that's probably why that's happened to me. I've never been bitten by a big dog. It's always small dogs. And I really think it's because the big dogs will give you some warning signs. They'll, thrash around a lot, or they'll, the hairs on their neck will stand up. They'll give you a lip curl. But these smaller dogs, I just feel like they don't do a lot of that.
Yeah.
And it may be because we have them on a table and not on the floor, so they can't really go anywhere. They're kind of confined. So those warning signs that you see from a big dog, you just don't see. So it might just be my perspective.
Yeah, and you mentioned German Shepherds. We had a German Shepherd growing up, and it's a great dog because their temperament is really good. They have an incredibly fierce bark. I mean, if you're ever near someone's home and you hear a German Shepherd, you ain't going in. It's just an amazing bark. It is super loud. It is. I mean, it will scare the hell out of you. It's super good. Talk about their legs, their back legs, and I know that their life expectancy isn't as long as a normal dog. Why is that?
Well, big dogs in general just don't live as long. You can have a small breed dog that, will live to be 18, but then you can have a large breed dog like a Great Dane. They're going to live 6 to 8 years. Really 12 at the most. I'm sure there's one that's lived longer than 12, but on average. So big dogs, they just don't live as long. They have more strain on their joints. They tend to get hip dysplasia. German Shepherds, they just have just naturally the way that they kind of walk hunched down in the back, and that's kind of normal for them. But because they're a big dog, you do see hip problems and joint problems in those dogs more. And the thing, there are breeds that we see that act completely different when they come in and see us. And so the reason that German Shepherds always, you can ask any veterinarian or anybody that works in a veterinary practice, they act different when they go into a veterinarian. It's because they're fearful dogs.
Yeah.
So my judgment on what a good dog is, or what kind of dog should I get, my judgment is always tainted, because I see them not in their quote unquote natural habitat. I see all these dogs when they come in and they're on red alert because they know what's going on.
Yeah.
Nobody likes to go to the doctor, and not many dogs like going to the vet. It's just part of it.
Yeah.
So
go ahead.
Was just, that's just, so when people ask me, what kind of dog should I get? It's a hard question for me to answer because we don't see them the way that you're supposed to see a dog.
Yeah. Final Mutt Mail question here. This is from Honey from Frankfort, Kentucky. She said, just recently I've realized just how important the teeth health of my animal is. She said, growing up, we never worried about the teeth of our animals because they're always chewing bones and out in the woods chewing sticks, and it seems like their teeth stayed healthy. How important it is, much like it is, I know here, if we have good oral care in human beings, it can track into your bloodstream. It can create all kinds of different issues. So it's important to keep your teeth super healthy as a human being. How's that work for dogs?
Yeah, she nailed it, because what will happen is that dogs will develop really heavy calculus, which is just tartar because they don't brush their teeth. If you get a puppy and you're able to start young, if you can brush their teeth every other day, it'll really help with their dental health, and it'll cut down on the number of times that they have to have professional, dental cleanings. So there's a lot of new products out, like water additives and things like that you can do as well. And not many people brush their dog's teeth. Let's be honest. It's hard. It's really hard.
Does it help their breath, or does it help their breath, or does that come from a gastrointestinal kind of thing?
No, it'll help their breath for sure. Brushing their teeth is what's going to help their breath more than anything, just like us.
Yeah.
So if the calculus and tartar builds up, that leads to bacterial infection, which can get underneath the gum line, and that causes irritation or gingivitis. And then other things that can happen down the road is the tooth gets loose. The infection can get deep, inside that pocket. They can get holes that connect their mouth to their nose. They're called oronasal fistulas if they get really bad dental disease. And they can get body-wide infections from having a lot of bacteria too. So sometimes the bacteria, for whatever reason, that's in the mouth, it will kind of break away, and it gets in the bloodstream, and it ends up going to the heart, ends up going to the mitral valve, where it creates plaques. So, dental health is really important because it not only affects the mouth, but it can affect, really major organs.
Every Monday is Darkside of Pooch Mondays. We run Dr. Rab's show, Darkside of Pooch, at noon and 8 o'clock every Monday, and this will be, of course, our last show before Christmas coming up. This week, I wanted to wish you a Merry Christmas to you and yours and your entire family, and I'm super blessed and just love our discussions every single week. I love you like a brother from another, and I thank you so much for everything you do at Rossbridge Animal Hospital, and we will talk next week, okay?
Oh, man, that sounds great. Merry Christmas, everybody.